Ara, 1 in every 100 Gazans have now been killed. The death toll has now reached over 25,000 people. That is an absolutely terrifying figure, actually a figure that is impossible to comprehend, but we have to comprehend it because we need to understand the scale of the loss. We need to understand the genocide that is unfolding in Gaza. Agus Ara, I know from your time as Minister for the Gaeltacht that you got to know my own home county of Galway, and I'll use it as an example. It would be like every resident of Athenry, Barna, Clifton, Moycullen, Oranmore, Uachtarard, Portumna and Ballinasloe all being wiped out in a 4-month period. That is the scale of the devastation visited upon those poor Palestinians who are currently in Gaza. Agus Ara, yesterday the New York Times said the daily death toll in Gaza has fallen in half over the past month. Well, I have to say, Minister, that statement was met with absolute shock. Not because it's some kind of new important statistic, but because it reflected, or one that reflected that the end was finally in sight. No, Ara, because for most people they wondered, how do we even know that the deaths are falling? Israel has bombed every hospital in Gaza. No hospital in Gaza is currently fully functional. The infrastructure of the Gaza Health Ministry has been completely and utterly demolished. More UN workers have been killed than in any other conflict. And more journalists to report the deaths have been killed since World War II. And we've all heard the genocidal statements made by Israel's government. Their Minister for Defence declared, "We are fighting human animals and we will eliminate everything." Their Prime Minister said they were fighting Amalek, that being the biblical tribe who God supposedly commanded to be completely eradicated. But Ara, what we see, what the Irish people see, the hundreds of thousands of Irish people that have protested against the genocide that is unfolding in Gaza see, is a population, a proud population of Gazans, a defenceless population who are currently undergoing a genocide, one that has long been starved and subjugated, stripped of their most basic human rights and dignity. Ara, 1 in 4 are now at risk of starvation. The entire population of Gaza is at risk of famine. Women are having to give birth through caesareans without anaesthetics, which are resulting in emergency hysterectomies and death. More than 10 children on average a day have lost one or both of their legs every single day, Minister, in Gaza since October 7th. Many have had to undergo amputations without the use of anaesthetics. What kind of a cruel world do we live in that allows that to continue without the international community actually actively doing anything about it? Because, Minister, this crime is a crime against humanity, and it is a shame of the world. Ara, I have to say that I am shocked at the lack of action by this government. A government who initially was one of the first Western nations to speak out, but when it came to actively supporting South Africa's case, only a week ago the Taoiseach was ruling this out. Now, it appears to be some kind of shift in the government's approach, but that shift would only have been as a result of the public outrage at the lack of action by this government. Or perhaps it was because another EU nation like Belgium has now stepped forward to say it supports South Africa. Credit to Belgium where it's due, a former colonial power. It would have been far more fitting, Minister, if we had been the first, and we should have been the first, but we should continue that support now. And given our history as the first Western nation to oppose apartheid in South Africa. Now, thankfully, Minister, we had Blina Nigrali as part of the South African legal team, and I have to say many Irish people felt as a result of that we were there in spirit. Ara, we are a signatory to the Genocide Convention, and as such we are obliged to do everything we can to stop the risk of genocide. And Trócaire has said that this humanitarian disaster is without parallel or precedent. A week ago, the last remaining university in Gaza was levelled. Of course, it's no surprise as they're denying access to education, as they are denying the lives of the people of Gaza. They are trying to destroy their education, they're destroying their lives, they're destroying their history. And we need to support South Africa's brave actions. This government initially talked the talk, but you just have to walk the walk and support South Africa and say stop to genocide.